Greetings, Chiefs. Mrs. Socio, your friendly neighborhood librarian here, and I'm here to share some tips about research with you. Now, research is nothing new to you. You've absolutely done it before, both in ninth grade, middle school, and in elementary school. And I'm about to share with you a video that I made years ago for my first graders at Glenwood Elementary with research. And I hope that you're going to see that the concept really hasn't changed. The only thing that's going to be changing is the topics that you're researching and where you would get your information, and of course, how you're going to cite your sources. So check out this cute little video.
Greetings, first grade Gators. This is Mrs. Socio, and I'm here to have a discussion with you about research. And this is just the first discussion we'll be having. We'll be having this discussion as we get older and move to second and third and fourth and even fifth grade. But research is simply answering a question using a reliable source. Now, you may not know exactly what those words mean, so let's talk about that for a minute. We know what answering questions is. The word reliable means you can trust somebody or something. So if my friend is reliable, that means I can count on them, I can trust them. While if a source is reliable, I can count on it, I can trust it, I know it's good. Well, what's a source then? Well, a source is simply a place where you get something. So for us, a source of food could be a cafeteria, a restaurant, a farm, a grocery store, just a place where we get food. In my case, my backyard is also a source of food since we have a garden where we grow things. So a source of information is a place where I would go to get information. Now we have to make sure we get the right information. So I wouldn't just maybe ask the person sitting next to me if I'm doing research what the answer is, because I don't know if they're reliable or not. Now, if someone was a zookeeper, that might be a reliable source of information. We could always ask an expert in the field, but we don't normally have a zookeeper hanging around nearby. So we're going to talk about two different types of sources that you can go to get reliable information to answer your questions.
Like I said, friends, research is nothing new to you. We just have to go deeper. We have to expose ourselves to more types of resources than just PebbleGo. And we have to be a lot more specific about how we cite our resources. The first step is choosing your topic. Let's go. I would choose perhaps school libraries. What a surprise, right? Obviously, that interests me. Then I would write, come up with, think about specific questions. What in particular do I want to know about school libraries? Back in the day when we did renovations to the school libraries, I actually researched what were some of the best ways to renovate an old-fashioned library. But for this topic, I would probably generate questions that were more along the lines of why is it so important to have school libraries for students? So one of my questions would be perhaps, are schools with a fully staffed library able to support student learning better? That's one question. I might come up with two or three questions. Once I have my questions, I would go into my resources, my sources. I'm going to recommend always start with the databases. Virginia Beach Schools does pay a lot of money to have these available to you. So going in the databases is good for two reasons. Number one, we know it's reliable. It's already been vetted by experts. I don't have to go through that vetting process. Remember the CRAP test? I don't need to do that. for anything in the databases. I just have to determine if that article answers my question. The other nice thing about using the databases is very often it's just a one click to get a citation, which I love. Anything that makes my research a little bit easier to me is a great thing. So in your database, you're going to collect these articles, and there are ways to do that I'll show you. You do have to skim, like not read every single word, but you do have to skim that article, read that article, just to double check that that article answers your question. Once you've decided that this is an article you'd like to use, you're going to start taking notes and organizing your information. There are several ways to organize that information. Sometimes your teacher will give you a graphic organizer to put that information in a logical format. You can use Google in a Google Doc. You can use something that we have access to in Canvas called Noodle Tools. That's a whole nother lesson, but you could always stop by and ask your librarians for a quick tutorial on how to use Noodle Tools to organize your information. But if you don't organize your information, putting it together to write that essay or present that project is going to make your life a lot harder. Okay, friends, now we're going to talk about where you're going to find those good sources. Like I said, databases are already vetted as good information, and they will create your citation for you. Scholarly articles. And I know there's been a lot of talk in years past about Wikipedia. Wikipedia is not a source that you can cite. However, some Wikipedia articles, if you scroll all the way down to the bottom and look at the references, they do list some really good articles sometimes that you can go to find your information. So Wikipedia, just think of it as like a direction, but not actually a source. It could lead you to a source. You can use websites by doing a Google search. I would use an advanced Google search, and I would also type my phrase, my question in quotation marks. And lots of times people will use for scholarly research primary sources like interviews and historical documents and books. And even though I'm a librarian, I will tell you that if you're doing research on issues that are happening now, unfortunately, books are not your best source of information because they're not always up to date. When you were in first grade researching animals are animals are animals. Like I used to say, an iguana is an iguana is an iguana, and we really don't need new and updated information on that. But if you're searching about issues, you're definitely going to want to go to ClassLink, go to your Launchpad, click on Reference Databases, and our databases are all laid out there. Two that I really think will help you in your research are ProQuest and Gale. ProQuest has SIRS issues researcher, and since you're researching topics on an issue or a problem that you'd like to solve, that is a good one. Gale also has global issues, Gale in Context. So what you would do is go into either one of those sites and type in your search box. Like I said, I chose school libraries and the importance of school libraries as my search. So I typed that in, and one of the first articles that turned up, it looks like it was just recently published in 2025. That's something that's important. If you're searching on issues that are affecting us now, you want it to be somewhat recent, ideally within the last 5 years or so. And it gives me a little overview, and it tells me what the article's about. And then scrolling down at the article, it really seems, I skimmed the entire thing, and it really seems like it will answer my question. And the lovely thing, again, about using these databases, you can save that article to your Google Drive. This way you don't have to keep looking for it and going through all those steps to find it again. You can email it to yourself. You can download it onto your computer, which can be helpful, but I would suggest putting it in your Google Drive. You can print it if you need to. Remember, your library always has printers available for you. And look at this button up here. You can cite it. You can click on this. It will make your citation, which in this instance is perfectly okay to copy and paste. So you cite it, copy, paste it onto your document, whatever your document is, whether it's a Google Doc that you've created, a graphic organizer that your teacher has created, wherever you are keeping those notes, and your teacher will share with you the expectation of where you are organizing this information. It's all in here. You can highlight it. And for those of us who struggle, I know a lot of times if you were a struggling reader early on, sometimes getting information from nonfiction sources can be challenging for you, as it was for my younger daughter. A lot of times these articles will read themselves aloud to you. And I love that feature because it, depending on what kind of learner you are, if you're an auditory learner, hearing it can help you get that information a little bit better. You can change your font. So again, I highly recommend using the databases. The next lesson that I share with you will be how to find good information on the internet. But for now, your teachers and I have agreed that we're at least going to start in the databases to see if we can find articles that answer our questions. I hope this helps you, and I hope you have a great experience. Remember, your librarians are always here for you. Bring your Chromebook down, and we're happy to chat, especially at lunchtime. See you soon.